Yield back the balance of my time. I will now recognize our ranking member Payne for 5 minutes for an opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman Nels, Chairman Graves, and Ranking Member Larson, and our 4 witnesses for being with us today. Intercity passenger rail is on the brink of transformation thanks to the $100 billion in funding for rail projects in the bipartisan infrastructure law. Over $4.6 billion is soon to be awarded across the nation through the FRA programs, including federal-state partnerships for intercity passenger rail grants and the eagerly awaited Corridor ID program with 92 proposals from 33 states under consideration. Announcements for awards are expected by end of year end. Earlier this month, the FRA awarded over $16 billion in funding for projects along the Northeast Corridor, including funding for the Gateway program. Almost $4.5 billion of that funding would directly impact my constituents in New Jersey's 10th congressional district. This influx of funding for intercity passenger rail projects would not be possible without the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was passed by this chamber and signed into law by President Biden this month 2 years ago. This funding is already enabling Amtrak and local governments to focus on sustainable, long-term projects rather than short-term patches. While project funding is crucial, it is equally vital to secure operational and network maintenance funding. It was unfortunate to see a majority of my colleagues across the aisle either vote to cut funding to rail programs by 57% or completely axe funding for Amtrak's national network as we consider the fiscal 2024 Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill earlier this month. The bill was already flawed with a 64% cut in funding to Amtrak, including a 35% cut to the national network and a staggering 92% cut to the Northeast Corridor. And these funding levels were adopted, Amtrak would likely significantly cut service across the national network, disconnecting passengers in both rural and urban communities who are reliant on Amtrak to go visit family, travel for work, or attend an event in another city. The bill also eradicates funding for crucial programs like the federal-state partnership for intercity passenger rail grants, vital for capital improvements and establishing new routes. And if those cuts weren't enough, the bill also had a 50% cut in funding to the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement Program, which is used to fund safety improvement projects for both intercity rail and freight rail projects. Fortunately, these drastic cuts were too severe to pass the House, allowing the Senate to pursue a more balanced bill aligned with the success of the bipartisan infrastructure law. Mr. Chairman, while I am glad to see your interest in intercity passenger rail, and I'm thrilled that we have had multiple hearings on this issue this Congress, I want to note that today marks the 300th day since the Norfolk Southern derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, and this subcommittee has yet to have a hearing on freight rail safety. We've had a representative from the CSX Freight Railroad in this room to talk about passenger rail, but not to talk about how a small town in Kentucky was evacuated last week due to a CSX derailment involving molten sulfur. Instead of being at home to celebrate Thanksgiving with family, these families were forced to spend part of their day in a middle school gymnasium. There is a freight rail derailment practically every day in this country, and every day we go without addressing this issue. Here in Congress it's here in Congress is another day communities across the country are at risk from a preventable catastrophe. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses how the $100 billion in funding for rail projects in the bipartisan infrastructure law will benefit our nation's communities. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Ranking Member.